it didn't start with Dobbs. That at the time of the Dobbs decision, there were already the Hyde Amendment, which had stripped federal funding from abortion, and there were more than 1,300 state abortion restrictions that had taken place and that were severely impacting access to abortion, especially for people with lower incomes, for young people, and for people from historically marginalized communities. So obviously Dobbs was a game changer. It took away the constitutional right to abortion for everybody. But it profoundly exacerbated these already existing inequities. 12 states in the wake of Dobbs totally banned abortion. 7 other states ban abortion at 6 weeks or 12 weeks. There's another state that bans it at 18 weeks, and then there's 20-something states that ban it later in pregnancy. And of the 12 states that banned abortion completely, 11 of them have criminal penalties for clinicians who violate the bans, ranging from fines and penalties on their licensure to a few months in prison, to some states having life sentences for any physician. So it's an incredibly chilling effect in some of these states. Of course, some have expanded abortion access, and I think, you're going to talk about this, Massachusetts being one of them, so I won't spend a lot of time on that, but, every time they attack, we attack back, right? The surprising thing is that in both 2023 and 2024, the 2 years, after Dobbs, the number of abortions in the United States actually increased. So, why did that happen? Well, one was the greater availability of medication abortion. And just because I'm not going to make any assumptions here, medication abortion is the abortion pill. It involves taking mifepristone, which is one pill which kind of stops the pregnancy from growing, and then 24 to 48 hours later, taking another drug called misoprostol, which helps to expel the pregnancy from the body. Okay, at the time of Dobbs, about half of abortions in the United States were medication abortions, and now it's about 2/3. So that in just 3 years, it's like skyrocketed the number. And abortions by telemedicine is where you ship the pills by mail, increased from 5% at the time of Dobbs to 25% in 2024, which is just remarkable. And half of those telemedicine abortions were provided by shield law practices like the MAP and some other practices in the United States. And you're going to be Claire will be talking more about the shield law, so I won't go into detail about that. The other thing, the second factor that influenced, the number of abortions going up were just the heroic acts of patient navigators and the abortion funds and, the people who helped people get travel in order to get their abortion, as well as the clinics. I mean, the increased volume that was happening in the clinics where abortion was still, the clinics just stepping up to the plate. I mean, some of them staying open until midnight, to kind of to accommodate the influx. And in 2024 alone, 155,000 people that we know of through the Guttmacher Institute research actually had to travel, across state lines for an abortion, and sometimes thousands of miles, right, to get the care that they need. So you could stop the story there and kind of say, oh, well, what's the problem? But the story does not stop there, right? One, because this is an incredibly vulnerable house of cards. One is that the the anti-abortion activists are laser focused on stopping abortion by mail. I mean, they are mad about it. And, you know, with the Trump administration, with Kennedy, with HHS, with the FDA, there's a number of things that they can do to try to restrict abortion pills by mail, right? So that's going to take out a whole swath. But the other thing is that even with the increase, there's a lot of people who aren't getting the abortions that they need. There's a lot of people who can't travel, who don't have the resources, who, you know, and when people have to carry undesired pregnancies, we think of pregnancy, you know, you can think of it in two ways. One is it's this wonderful experience in people's life, and the other is that it's really risky. Yeah, and there was a study called the Turnaway study that showed that that compared women who were able to get abortions and pregnant people who couldn't get the abortions that they needed and ended up having to carry the pregnancy. And it shows that those latter people were more likely to remain in poverty, to remain tethered to abusive partners, and to experience complications. So then you talk about complications, and then you realize, hey, this is not just about abortion, right? I mean, we've all probably read in the papers these horrendous stories of people going to emergency rooms where they're not allowed to do life-saving abortions, or at least because the language and the laws are so confusing that doctors think they can't, right? And being turned away, having miscarriages, or rupturing their bag of water, or having, you know, bleeding in pregnancy, or having an ectopic pregnancy, and they're turned away from those emergency rooms, right? And we know, you know, if I don't know if you saw stories, they're horrendous stories of people bleeding in bathtubs and in the cars in parking lots after being turned away. And we already know of 5 people who have died. So ProPublica published, and there have been 5 people who have died either because of bleeding or of overwhelming infection because they were turned away from life-saving care. And then, you know, there's effects on training of future providers, and clinicians are fleeing states with abortion bans. And what's this doing, and our other panelists will speak better to this than I can, but increasing maternity care deserts. So, you know, and when the ACA starts closing, I mean, when the Trump's brutal bill starts closing rural hospitals and stuff, that's even going to increase even further. And that, of course, is exacerbating the crisis in Black maternal mortality that we have in this country. And Kaba is one of my favorite activists, and I'll paraphrase, but she, you know, she has this thing about, if you really want to be an activist, if you really want to change the world, then hope is not just an emotion, it's an obligation. And we need to practice it every day.